Hi, my name is Ohad. I want to make a prediction about the upcoming Star Ladder Berlin Majors in Csgo. So I thought to myself it might be a good idea to just put it on a video so the very few people who might actually watch this thing can benefit from it if they follow my advice. And by the way, even if you don't want to follow this advice and you just don't want to give it a try, I think the fact you are still here listening to my thought process and trying to understand the way I look at it can be very useful for you in the long term, if one day you will decide to adopt this hobby of buying and selling items on Steam. By the end of the day, this thing is very repetitive and it's about recognizing the pattern. So here is the deal. It is in my belief that when the majors are going to start on the 23rd of August, there are two items that will show very stable increment in their value starting from that date. Number 1, Katowice 2019 Viewer Pass, and number 2, Operation Hydra Access Pass. So by now the main question we need to figure out is why. What made me think that those two items will increase in their value? And the answer to this question is very plain and simple. First of all, those items by now are one of a kind, as I want to call it. What do I mean by that? Well, it means that those items cannot be created any longer. You can't buy them anymore. We have a fixed amount of supply, which will only decrease as time goes by. Some people would click on it and consume it to get their badges. So it is safe to say that over time the supply will decrease. The second factor that made me come up with this conclusion is that history usually repeats itself. I'm betting on the possibility that as time goes by, people would genuinely want to collect those Hydra Katowice badges like in the previous years. It is very clear to see that over a long period of time, prices would increase. Okay, so we just went through on why it might be a good idea to buy a few of those passes, but I'm sure that as you listen to this, you came up with a lot of good reasons why this whole idea is bad. So let's talk about the risk. Many of you might say, well, why would any sane person would pay any freaking dime to have an unprofitable item in their profile that cannot be traded and does completely nothing to help you in-game? Man, look, I agree with you. I don't have anything to say about that. But I'm not here to judge people. I'm here to react to their actions. There are people out there who just want to collect items for the sake of collecting. Every day, someone is buying these tickets because they see some value in it. I'm just trying to go with the flow. The second biggest issue here is the time factor. It can take a long time. By the way, if you check the current prices for different Operation tickets, you will come across the Operation Breakout and Phoenix tickets that occurred in 2014, and if you will revisit the Operation Wildfire, which took place in 2016, it's just worth more. Less supply, it add more demand. I'm not delusional here. I know it may take a few months to make some money out of it. Most definitely not going to take years, but just a few months. So what do I advise you to do? Let's look at it in two different time frames. If you're talking about the short term, buying Katowice 2019 tickets is the way to go. I assume that Steam will go with the same model for Star Ladder Berlin Major, meaning they will create its own ticket, the Viewer Pass. And I think that's what really gives the Katowice ones an edge. People were not ready to amass those tickets as much as they would in the next upcoming event, so there's just less supply of it already. Moreover, there's something about this word Katowice that I think reminds people Katowice 2014, where there were a lot of rare stickers out of that event, and so I have a good vibe and a good sense on the Katowice 2019, especially when you don't need to wait that much in order to make even a small profit, just considering the current prices if you go for a buy order. For the long term, if you have cash lying around at your Steam account, I would advise you to buy the Operation Hydra tickets and wait a couple of months. No other operation than Hydra because that's the only one that is relatively low, so it has the most potential to give you a nice return. It is just cheaper and in its early stages. A quick disclaimer. It is important for me to show you guys exactly what I'm doing, not just talking about it in theory. So here's my inventory right now regards to the different passes. I bought all those Hydra passes in the current market value. And I'm just giving it a small try. I'm not going all in on this method because I can see all the flaws in it, which the biggest flaw here is that you're transferring all your cash into those tickets, and if you just don't have a lot of money laying around, you just block yourself from executing on different methods that are much more secure, and you can benefit from them tremendously. There are just much more secure ways to make some cash out of CSGO majors. That is obviously has to do with the capsules. The capsules is like a real 99.99% way, a guaranteed way to make some profit in a couple of months. So with the rest of my cash on Steam, I'm going to put it all in the capsules. This whole idea of making profit out of the tickets themselves is just about me messing around, and it has nothing to do probably with the most of the people who are listening to this. I really think this advice is more applicable for people who almost reaching the Steam wallet cap of $2,000. So they just can't mass enough of the capsules because they will just reach the cap in their account. So yeah, if you have some cash lying around, really save it to the capsules. It's just a much better way to make it through. If you guys want me to cover this topic of the capsules or anything else, please let me know. If you got any questions to ask, be sure to do so. Would love to answer each and every one of your questions. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful day. By the way, yeah, I noticed I said a lot of time Katowice instead of Katowice or something like that. Yeah. Bye.